I want to start out by apologizing, because I really am super bad at reiterating the story of anything, even experiences that have personally happened to me. But I do want to make videos that everyone can enjoy, so for those who don't want to play the games or can't, I'm trying my best to give bullet points, without giving so much away that it makes you never want to play the game. I also want to mention that with the Assassin's Creed series, it is a bit hard to explain the differences between each game. I mean, at first they were rough, but as the series goes on, you deal with a smoother product. There aren't as many issues, and it just generally feels better as you go. The most I can really do is explain new tools, but not much past that. Once we hit the new style of Assassin's Creed games at, say, Origins, then I can really talk about the gameplay changes. But how do I properly explain that the parkour felt better in one game than another? Just because it was a tiny bit faster, or the character was more fluid in finding another handhold, rather than having to move the stick in all directions, hoping they'd find the obvious point right in front of them. Sorry for rambling, I just feel like the faster I get through Assassin's Creed, the faster I can get to unique games and have more consistency in my grading scale. Or should I even keep the grading scale? There's so much uncertainty in my work because I don't get any creative feedback on what I do. But even without it, I'll continue trying to improve and do my best as I go ahead. Sorry for rambling. Let's begin. You play as Shay Cormac, a cocky so-and-so that's still learning the ways of the Assassins, but still trusted enough by Achilles to go out on missions relating to Pieces of Eden. Of course, first we have to get our basic tutorials out of the way, and we meet other members of the Assassins who help us remember the controls, such as Kasegawase, a native, Hope, who seems to be a love interest to Shay, and Liam, who is much like a brother to Shay. Your first few missions are little more than tutorials, and you do capture your own ship, the Morrigan, and you start your journey towards an artifact, which is a box. But first you need some information, so you sneak into a party and kill George Washington's older brother Lawrence. And he tells you that you're too late, his plans are already in motion. But unluckily for him, you overheard his plans and go to stop them. However, Shay does have some issues with his orders, as the man he was sent to kill was already on death's doorstep. Is this really how the assassins work? But he doesn't have much time to reflect on this, as he's sent on another mission to kill Samuel Smith. And he does get the box, but again, the man he's killed could barely hold a sword, and Shay goes to talk to the higher-ups, but gets sent to go meet with Benjamin Franklin to activate the box instead. Once they reach Franklin, however, he finds that the man is missing his lightning rods, and after retrieving them, they power up the box to find it's a map. So, Shay heads off to Lisbon to find what the map has revealed. When he gets to Lisbon, Shay is a little upset with the timing, as there's a festival going on, but he's busy looking for an artifact from ancient times instead. Shay goes through the church, solving the puzzle, and once he unlocks it, he goes for the artifact, only for it to crumble in his hands and start an earthquake that destroys the entire city. By the way, I want to mention that while running through the city, if you slow down at all, the game just keeps popping this message up on the screen, and all I could hear while seeing it was this scene right here. Shay is reasonably angry at Achilles for sending him out to the temple and accuses him of knowing that it would cause an earthquake, just like in Haiti. Before he can get any answers, though, he's dragged out of the room. After thinking about it for a while, Shay decides that there's only one way to amend what has been done. One way to stop what will be done. He breaks into the Davenport homestead and steals the manuscript, but he's caught by Achilles. Achilles doesn't take this well, of course, and the two fight for a quick second before Shay escapes out the window. But he is eventually cornered on a cliff, and he sacrifices himself in order to keep the manuscript from them. We then get a small memory fragment of Shay 20 years later, trying to save Benjamin Franklin in Paris. But it's an incomplete memory, and we'll have to return to this later. When we return to Shay, we find him being patched up by a kind couple, but soon they leave the room after hearing noises of a disturbance somewhere else in the house. Which leads to this fantastic bit of voice acting.
You wretch, how dare you!
Shut up, woman.
Oh!
Leave her alone. Ah!
After finding that it's a local gang bothering the Finnegans, Shay beats them and then goes after them, leading to this amazing point of facial animation while talking.
I've got to hide!
What have you and your friends got against the Finnegans?
I got no gripe. My boss sent me over.
Ah, and where is he set up?
You can't miss it. There's always black smoke rising from the courtyard of that building.
Here we meet Colonel Monroe, who gives you the tutorial on money-making in this game, which works much like Ezio's. And he gives you a mission to save Captain Gist, who is being hung by assassin forces. After saving him, you find your old ship, the Morrigan, and capture it back, and Gist fills your crew, with himself as your first mate. Upon meeting up with Monroe, you find that the assassins are working with the French and are holed up in a nearby fort. Upon going to the war room of said fort, you find Le Chasseur, who is an informant for the assassins, and he attacks Shay knowing he's a traitor. Once killed, he reveals that he's merely the delivery man of poisonous gas weapons for the assassins to use. Shay finds that the person who has been making said weapons is none other than Benjamin Franklin, who Shay helped earlier during his tenure as an assassin, and uses the fact that Franklin doesn't know that he's flipped sides against him to keep the weapon from the assassins. Luckily enough, the prototype that Franklin gives him mounts onto the bottom of the blowgun he has and shoots grenades of varying types, be it sleep, berserk, or even shrapnel. Shay hears word that the colonel is being held captive by the French, and that there is a group of natives supporting them that plan to ambush and kill the colonel and his men. So, Shay goes to rescue them, only to find Kasegawase is leading them. Shay saves them, but now the assassins know that he's still alive. Once the two meet back up, they talk about how Kasegawase plans another attack that would weaken the Templar, but Shay is prepared to go take him out. In order to enact the murder of Kasegawase, first, Shay gains the trust of the local natives to weaken the support Kasegawase may gain. The next thing he does is help some British soldiers push back the French, so that he may have forces of his own. As they move through the wreckage of ships, Shay realizes that the assassins are currently attacking a fort being held by Monroe, and finds Kasegawase there, who reveals before he dies that Liam is here to kill Monroe, should Kasegawase fail. So Shay goes off to save Monroe, but only finds him stabbed and trapped in a burning building. When he pulls Monroe out, he reveals that Liam took the manuscript, and before he dies, he takes off his Templar ring, which Shay puts in his pocket for later. He then joins the Templar Order, officially brought in by none other than Haytham Kenway. Some more modern-day stuff happens, and when you return to the Animus, you're given another part of the incomplete memory of the future, where Shay makes an agreement with Benjamin Franklin to get into the Royal Palace so that he may meet up with one of his old business partners, as he puts it. When we go back to the part of the game we've worked up to, we find Shay talking to Haytham, talking about how dangerous it is for the assassins to have the manuscript. So Haytham sends him to a fort where the assassins have been active lately to meet with a man named James Cook, who is one of their informants. James Cook tells Shay that there is resistance and that they'll need to clear the way for the British fleet if they're to continue, and allow Shay to captain his man-o'-war. Upon taking care of the enemy fleet and some fire ships, it is revealed that Adewale is the one leading this charge. Though he makes it out of the fray unscathed, Shay promises Haytham that they will get another shot to kill him. In fact, this opportunity shows up a little earlier than expected, as they find that Adewale is docked to refit his ship. However, they find that he has done so in a fort, so Shay goes on foot to find him. Of course, Adewale isn't going to go down without a fight, and runs to his ship for a naval battle. But when he's overpowered by Shay, he beats his ship in a last-stand situation, waiting for Shay to try and strike him down. Haytham distracts Adewale, while Shay sneaks in and kills him. And on his deathbed talk, Adewale says that Achilles already has what he needs, and that Shay has become a monster. To which he says, the assassins are based in New York, and Shay overhears a meeting of theirs. Apparently Hope means to recreate Benjamin Franklin's experiment to find the next precursor site. Bringing this news to Haytham and a guy I forgot about named Jack, they come up with a plan to impersonate Hope's men and commit a crime so large that the authorities can no longer ignore them. So, what's the crime they go with? Looting tons of money and freeing the prisoners in a nearby British encampment, which works exceptionally well. We meet up with Haytham and mobilize onto the mansion that Hope is holed up in. Shay tells Haytham that he can take Hope out on his own. They find the next site just as Shay gets there, and Liam goes to relay the location. But Hope spots Shay and shoots the window he's standing on, and instead of killing him directly, she takes his gas mask and fills the building with gas, telling him that she's sorry it had to come to this. Once he escapes the warehouse, she throws a poisoned knife at him, so he must chase her down in order to get the antidote. He ends up having to kill her to get it though, which he is immediately regretful about. Hope does let slip that Liam is on his way to an assassin named Chevalier, and together they're going to find the next precursor site. Shay meets up with Cook again in order to find where Chevalier headed to, and finds that he is headed to Anticosti. Upon reaching Anticosti, they find that the man isn't there. Instead, they find maps of where he's gone, which they'll need Cook to decipher. Cook says he could draw out a map, but Shay tells him to just come along as there isn't time, so he does. They find a fleet awaiting them, and after the fleet is dealt with, Chevalier himself ambushes them. When they finally incapacitate his ship and kill Chevalier, they find he was nothing more than a distraction, that Achilles and Liam have already headed north towards the next site. Finally, we're reaching the end of Shay's journey of repentance. We arrive to where the map showed, and Haytham joins Shay, so that he may watch the death of Achilles' brotherhood with his own eyes. Upon reaching the artifact in the site, we find that Liam and Achilles made it there first, and Shay tries to make Achilles see reason, which he does, but Liam, being reasonably angry with Shay for killing his brethren, goes to shoot him, and in the scuffle where Achilles tries to stop him, they break the artifact. Achilles and Haytham go one way, while Shay has to hunt down Liam on the other path. When Shay finally catches Liam, the Cliff of Ife breaks, leading to Liam's death. But with his final dying moments, he asks Shay if it was worth it, and gives him the manuscript. When Shay makes it back to the Morrigan, he finds Haytham about to kill Achilles, but he convinces him not to. But of course, Haytham shoots his leg out anyway, and with this, Haytham gives Shay one more order, to spend as long as it takes to find the precursor box. And at last, we also get the last part of the glitch sequence, where Shay has finally located who has the box, a man named Charles Dorian. And I also want to point out that he has a son named Arno, but I won't reveal quite yet why. Shay kills the man and takes the box, and the man laughs that the American Revolution undid his business that he started all those years ago. And that is where we leave Shay. Now, I probably should talk about the modern-day story, but I figured I'd wait till the end, considering it only becomes relevant at the end. The same with Black Flags. Basically, there's been a hack that requires you to go through Shay's memories, and in doing so, you gather information for the Templars to send the Assassins, to let them know the true story of one of the greatest men they've ever had betray them. The last thing the modern character does is get an invitation to join the Templar, and if they refuse, they die. The combat is more of what I've come to expect from the Assassin's Creed games. However, we do get a tool that works somewhat like one from Black Flag I forgot to mention. We get an air gun that allows us to use darts to enrage enemies, put them to sleep, or lure enemies to a specific location. The version of this from Black Flag was a blow dart, and I am sorry for forgetting to mention it. On top of those, we get a grenade launcher upgrade for our air gun, which fires grenades that do mostly the same things as the darts, but in an AoE effect. Except, instead of luring, the last grenade rips them apart with shrapnel. I like the combat here, and the strategy that the darts and grenades add, making it easier to be undetected or take out multiple enemies all at once. Another thing I should add, though, is that after a certain point in the story, you do have random assassins that will go ahead and try to take you out, and you have to use your eagle sense to find and kill them first. The ship combat is mostly the same, but luckily, this time around, to upgrade the ship doesn't take as long, with the upgrades requiring so many less materials. But the ship isn't the only thing that uses materials, with there also being buildings to renovate, somewhat like the ones in the Ezio trilogy, that give us passive income. But we do also still have the fleets as well. I say the combat is mostly the same, and while it is true, there are a few key differences, such as there being different shot types do more devastating damage when aimed correctly, or even the side-mounted swivel cannons being upgraded to be semi-automatic. These new upgrades do make the ship feel so much more responsive, and makes it quite a bit easier to dominate the combat. So, going back, is this still my favorite Assassin's Creed game? No. My favorite games in the series now are definitely the Ezio trilogy, but I'd still give this game an 8 out of 10. I also realized while playing the game that the only reason that I finished this game and none of the others is that it's so short to begin with, as this game only has 6 chapters, while other games have upwards of 12. But honestly, I don't feel that it hurts the game to be shorter.